it is soup season, so today I will be sharing 5 of my family's all-time favorite soups with you. These soups are out of this world good. Let's go get to my kitchen and let's go get started. To kick us off today, we are making my favorite creamy tortilla soup. So over to my Dutch oven, or you could just use a large pot, toss in a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter, then add in 1 yellow onion that you diced. Let this cook for about 3 to 4 minutes to soften the onion. Now you're going to want to add in a tablespoon of minced garlic. Stir that garlic around only for about 15 seconds. Garlic cooks quickly and it does burn easily, so just be careful. Now I'm tossing in a tablespoon of tomato paste along with 1 can of corn that I drained. Next I'm adding in 1 can of drained and rinsed black beans, but you could use any beans that you like. Then a can of rotel. Next 5 cups of chicken broth. For the chicken I am using 2 uncooked chicken breasts, so just add them in there along with a teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of salt, and then a tablespoon of taco seasoning. Give this a really good stir, and you're going to want to let this simmer covered for about 20 minutes or until your chicken's cooked through. Now that my chicken's cooked through, I'm just going to remove it to a plate and I am going to cube this chicken up. My family likes it into cubes, but if you want to shred this chicken, you can instead of cubing it. Kind of just do whatever you prefer. Add that chicken back in along with 4 tablespoons of cream cheese that I cubed and 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Give this a really good stir and let that cream cheese melt down. It will take a few minutes and then you could serve this up. Top your soup with anything that you love. I topped mine with shredded cheese, tomato, sour cream, avocado, and tortilla chips. I like to crush some tortilla chips over the top of my soup. It is just really good. You need to try this soup out. You are going to love it. Now we're making this chicken noodle soup, and it's the only chicken noodle soup I make all fall and winter long when somebody in my house isn't feeling the best. So to my Dutch oven, I added in a tablespoon of butter. Once it melted down, I added in 1 yellow onion that I diced, along with a cup of diced carrots and 3/4 cup of sliced celery. I'm going to let this cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. Once my cooking time is up, I added in a tablespoon of minced garlic along with my seasonings. So a teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of dried thyme, and a 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage. I'm going to give this a really good stir and kind of scrape any bits off the bottom of my pot. Now I'll add in 9 cups of chicken broth and I'm going to bring this up to a simmer. After this does start to simmer, you're going to want to add in about 8 ounces of egg noodles. I recommend you using these old-fashioned wide egg noodles. I find these at my Walmart grocery store and they just work the best for this soup. I promise. They're super good. So I'm going to let this simmer for 18 minutes or until the pasta is tender and the veggies are cooked through. Now I'm going to add in 2 cups of cooked shredded chicken. I'm just using part of a rotisserie chicken, or when you add the noodles in, you could add in a chicken breast and let the chicken cook in your soup. Then I added in the juice from 1/2 of a lemon. I'm going to give this a really good stir now and then I'll serve it up. I make this soup all of the time for my family and my friends whenever somebody needs some chicken noodle soup. It really is so good and extremely easy to make. I did serve this alongside of a roll that I just heated up in the oven. I really like this brand of rolls. They come out super good. Potato soup is just so cozy and perfect for this time of year. So to my big pot on the stove, I'm adding in about 6 strips of bacon. I did slice the bacon into smaller pieces. I'm going to cook this bacon up right now on the stove, and while it is cooking away, over to my cutting board on my countertop, I am just going to dice up 1 yellow onion, and I'm also going to peel and dice about 8 medium golden potatoes. I like using golden potatoes for potato soup just because they're so creamy and good. But now that my bacon's cooked through, I'm removing it with a slotted spoon to a plate lined with paper towels, and I'm going to set it to the side. In the same pot that the bacon was cooked in, I did save the bacon grease in the pot. I added my diced onion and I let it cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. Now I'm going to toss in a tablespoon of minced garlic and I'll let that cook for about 15 seconds. Now I'm going to add in my flour, and it's just 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. Stir that flour around until it is a beautiful golden color like this. Now slowly add in about 4 cups of chicken broth. You do want to whisk it while you add it in, just so that flour doesn't become clumpy. Once the chicken broth is incorporated in, you're going to add in your 2 cups of milk. I'm just using regular milk, and 2/3 cup of heavy cream. Then add in the potatoes that we just cut up along with the seasonings. For the seasonings, I'm just adding in a teaspoon of salt, pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. Let this simmer on your stove for about 10 minutes. Now that my potatoes are fork tender, it is time to mash some of them. Of course, if you don't want to do this, you certainly don't have to, but it does add some creaminess to the soup. You could also put some of the potatoes in like a blender or a food processor just to kind of mash them a little bit. But now I'm going to add in 2/3 cup of sour cream and half of the cooked bacon bits. Next, add in 3/4 cup of shredded cheddar cheese and stir this super well. Let this continue to simmer for about 3 minutes, and then you could serve it up. We love topping ours with sliced chives and some more of those bacon bits and cheese. This potato soup is so rich and creamy. It is seriously what potato soup dreams are made of. You are going to love it. My entire family loves it so much. This one is for all of my meatless meal friends. I think you are going to love this minestrone soup. I've been making it this way for years and years. I'm starting out by dicing 1 yellow onion into smaller pieces, along with 3 carrots, 1 medium-sized zucchini, and 2 ribs of celery. Over to the large pot on my stove, I'm adding in a tablespoon of olive oil, and once my oil's hot, I'm just adding in the onion, celery, and the carrots, not the zucchini. Cook these vegetables together for about 5 to 7 minutes to soften these veggies. After they are soft, you'll toss in some seasoning. So just toss in about a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. Now add in your 5.5 cups of vegetable broth, along with 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, 14 ounces of tomato sauce, and then 1 can of drained and rinsed kidney beans. You'll also add in the zucchini that we cut up earlier at this point, and the rest of the seasonings. So add in a tablespoon of dried basil, 2 teaspoons of dried parsley, and 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. Give this a really good stir, and you're going to want to let this simmer on your stove for about 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes of simmering, just remove the lid, and you're going to toss in 1.5 cups of small pasta. I'm just using like dentellini pasta, but any small pasta would work. Let the pasta cook for about 10 minutes or until the pasta is tender. Now that the pasta is tender, the very last thing I'm doing is adding in 2 cups of fresh chopped spinach. I gave this a really good stir to let that spinach wilt down, and then I served this soup up. Here's my bowl of soup. I love topping mine with a little bit of Parmesan cheese on the top and fresh parsley. This soup is seriously 10 out of 10. I can make this like every single week and not get tired of it. Of course, I don't do that, but it really is so delicious. Now we are making this broccoli and cheese soup, so over to my cutting board, I'm dicing 1 yellow onion, I shredded 1 carrot, and I chopped 2 large heads of broccoli. Over to the pot on my stove, I added in 1/4 cup of butter. Once the butter melted down, I added those veggies right in there. I'm going to stir the veggies around to get coated in the butter, and I'm going to let them cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. I really want to get that broccoli starting to soften. Now I'm going to add in 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You want to stir that flour around so it gets incorporated in with the rest of the ingredients in the pot. You don't really want the flour to be super white, just stir it in until it's no longer white. Then I added in 1.5 cups of chicken broth. I am going to bring this up to a boil, and I did serve this soup alongside of this Pillsbury French bread. It was the first time I actually tried it and I was really impressed, so I just wanted to share it with you guys in case you wanted to try it sometime. But after I brought this up to a simmer, I added in 1 cup of heavy cream along with 1 cup of milk, then a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. I am going to give this a stir. I'll let this simmer on my stove for about 10 minutes to let the soup thicken and the broccoli continue to cook. Now that my soup has thickened, I'm adding in 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Just watch that cheese melt down and then you could serve this up. You are going to be so impressed with this broccoli and cheese soup. My kids absolutely love it so much. It really is so easy to make, and then I did sprinkle a little bit of cheese on the top. And here's that French bread that I just made up in my oven. I did put a little bit of butter on the top once it was out of the oven, and I sprinkled it with some Italian seasoning. Thank you for being here today, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next video or my cookbook when it's out. Bye for now.